The Interstellar Employment Agency's holographic receptionist flickered nervously as Luke signed the final contract. "Are you absolutely certain about this placement?" she asked, her digital voice carrying an edge of concern. "We've sent 47 assistants to Commander Allison in the past year. None lasted more than 6 days. Luke adjusted his worn military jacket and met the hologram's gaze steadily. "I've read the file, I'm certain." The receptionist's expression shifted to something resembling pity. "She's difficult. The Dragon Woman, they call her. Before the siege of Kepler 44-B, she commanded 3 battle cruisers. Now she can't even." The hologram caught herself. "Well, you'll see." The transport pod deposited Luke outside a modest dwelling on Europa's terraformed surface. The structure was military standard housing, functional and cold. He pressed the entry chime and waited. "It's unlocked," a voice barked from inside. "Get in here before you let the heat out." Luke entered to find Allison seated in a specialized hover chair near the window, her back to the door. She didn't turn around. Outside, Jupiter dominated the sky, a swirling masterpiece of storms and clouds. "You're the new one," she said flatly. "Let me guess you think you're different, special. You've read about my service record and think you understand what it means to work for a war hero." Her voice dripped with sarcasm on those last 2 words. "No, ma'am," Luke replied, setting down his bag. "I think I'm here to do a job." That made her spin the chair around. Allison was younger than he'd expected, perhaps mid-30s, with sharp, green eyes that seemed to catalog everything about him in an instant. Her legs, he noted, remained perfectly still, paralyzed from the waist down since a Zarati plasma torpedo had torn through her flagship's bridge 3 years ago. "You were military," she observed, eyes narrowing at his posture. "Let me save us both some time. I don't need pity. I don't need someone trying to inspire me with uplifting speeches. The last assistant actually brought me a book about overcoming adversity." I threw it at his head. "Did you hit him?" Luke asked. Allison blinked, surprised. "What's your aim? Did you hit him?" A ghost of a smile crossed her face before vanishing. "Center mass." He ducked, but not fast enough. "Good to know you haven't lost your accuracy, Commander." Her eyes flashed dangerously. "Don't call me that. I'm not a commander anymore. I'm just this." She gestured at her chair with disgust. Luke began unpacking his supplies in the kitchen area. "The contract says you need help with daily tasks, physical therapy assistance, and meal preparation. What time do you typically start your day?" "Whenever I feel like it," Allison snapped. "Which is the point. I don't need some chirpy morning person barging in here with breakfast and fake enthusiasm." "I'm not chirpy," Luke said mildly, examining the contents of her refrigerator. "And I make terrible breakfast. But I can follow a recipe." Over the next few days, Luke established a routine that Allison seemed determined to destroy. She accidentally knocked over her medication dispenser, forcing him to spend an hour reorganizing pills. She demanded meals at random hours. She insisted on attempting transfers from her chair alone, then cursed viciously when her weakened arms couldn't manage the weight. Luke simply cleaned up the spills, prepared the meals, and stood nearby during transfers, close enough to help if asked, far enough to preserve her dignity. On the 4th day, Allison finally exploded. "Why are you still here? Don't you have any "I've been horrible to you," Luke continued, folding laundry. "You've been moderately unpleasant. I've experienced worse." "What?" she challenged. "What makes you think you can handle this?" He paused, meeting her eyes. "Proxima Centauri be the evacuation." Her expression changed immediately. Every veteran knew about Proxima Centauri b, the colony world where the Zarati had deployed biological weapons, where 70,000 civilians had needed emergency evacuation while soldiers held a deteriorating perimeter. "I was there for 11 weeks, Luke continued quietly, carrying people who couldn't walk, listening to people scream because we didn't have enough painkillers, watching good soldiers give up because the situation seemed hopeless." He returned to the laundry. "You're angry and frustrated, Commander, but you're not hopeless. You just think you are." Allison's hands clenched on her armrests. "You don't know anything about what I've lost." "You're right," he agreed, "but I know what humanity hasn't lost. The Zarati thought Proxima Centauri would break us. The siege of Kepler 44-B was supposed to end human expansion in that sector. But you held that space station for 96 hours with a paralyzed spine and failing life support. 40,000 colonists evacuated because you refused to abandon your post. And what good am I now?" Her voice cracked. "I can't even stand up." Luke set down the laundry and approached her chair, crouching to eye level. "The Dragon Woman," he said softly, "didn't earn that name because she could walk. She earned it because when the Zarati boarding party breached the bridge, she kept fighting from the floor. Because she rerouted power to the shields with a shattered spine. Because she's the reason my sister and her 2 kids made it off that station alive. Allison stared at him, tears threatening to spill. Your sister, Deck 7, residential section. She tells her kids about the commander who wouldn't quit. The one who proved that humans don't need working legs to be dangerous. He stood. So no, Commander. I'm not here because I pity you. I'm here because I owe you. And because someone who saved 40,000 lives deserves better than giving up in a chair on Europa. The silence stretched between them. Finally, Allison wiped her eyes roughly. The physical therapy exercises, they hurt. They're supposed to, and they might not even work. The doctors say the doctors also said you wouldn't survive your injuries long enough for rescue. Luke interrupted. How'd that prediction work out? Another ghost of a smile. You're insubordinate. I'm a civilian now. I can be insubordinate if I want. Allison took a shaky breath. Okay, tomorrow we start the full therapy routine, the painful one. Yes, ma'am. And Luke. She caught his arm as he turned to leave. Thank you. He nodded. That's what humans do, Commander. We don't leave each other behind. Outside the window, Jupiter continued its eternal dance, indifferent to the small victories happening in its shadow. But inside that modest dwelling, something shifted. The Dragon Woman hadn't been defeated by paralysis. She'd just been waiting for someone who understood that humanity's strength had never been in their bodies. It had always been in their refusal to surrender. And Luke, scarred, veteran of impossible wars, knew that truth better than anyone.